Welcome back, everybody, to School of Love. I am here today with Yusun Abrahams. We're going to talk about family screen habits. And yeah, hi, Yusun.
Hi, Amelia. How are you?
I am really good. I'm really happy to be talking to you. Yeah, Yusun is an old friend, a young old friend from a long time ago. Um, Secret fun fact, she introduced me to my husband. So, yeah, definitely can't forget her.
We met way back in Germany when my husband and I were living there, and now we're back in America, where we're originally from. So I haven't had much contact with Amelia since then, but I love keeping the contact and having the connection still. So it's really cool. And I'll share a little bit about myself. I have four children. My oldest is almost 14, a girl. Then we have a 11-year-old boy, a 8-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old boy. And like I said, we are living in America. Our oldest daughter was born in Germany while we were there, but we've been here since, and we've been homeschooling our kids because just kind of worked out that way. It wasn't always the plan, but initially we took it year by year, and it's just kind of stuck and it's working for us. So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, that's so awesome, and I'd love to take another podcast to ask you how you're doing that because I'm trying to homeschool my kids. It's, definitely a challenge, so lots of respect that you have stuck with it. Um,
Yeah, well, the first year is always the hardest. So
okay, good to know. Yeah, but yeah, today we want to talk about screen habits. I kind of know a little bit about your journey, not so much, honestly, but I know that you kind of took a big leap of separating your family from your previous screen habits. So, yeah, what did that look like? Like, what was your previous family culture around screens?
sure. Yeah, so our oldest two, when when we were raising them, they were growing up. Screens are already available. iPhones have been around for a while, and my husband and I each had one, but it wasn't really an issue. Our kids had tablets, but um, they weren't on them a lot, and I, we didn't really think much about it at the time. And then our third daughter was born, and somehow we got into a just like a rut with just allowing her to watch things on mostly on our phone, sometimes on TV, but um we started with simple things like baby Einstein, just like classical music and little, videos and things like that. And it was just kind of like a distraction at times. But she really got hooked quick. And we had a lot of friends that had their kids watching on their phone, on their parents' phones. And, whenever you go to sporting events, or older kids, started to get into sporting um, event or like sports and stuff, and we would go to watch them, and then it would just be so easy to hand her my phone and watch something, and turned into like we would go on walks, and we would be in a car ride, we would do grocery shopping, we would sit at a table for dinner, and she would whine or want it, and we would just give it to her, and it really actually started to become a problem, and I could tell she was becoming quickly very addicted. I mean, looking back now and seeing her personality as she's older, she does have a very kind of addictive personality. When she is committed to something, she goes all in. And so that was very much the case with the phones too. But uh, yeah, it just we didn't think anything of it though, honestly, initially, because it was just so common. It was just such a norm as well. Other parents would do it. Um, and we eventually, like, it would be YouTube kids, where it's supposed to be just clean kids shows, and I still didn't think anything of it, and um there wasn't anything bad, so I'm like, okay, if she's just watching and whatever. So I would just let her watch as much as she want, and would try to take it away and not let her do it all the time. But yeah, we didn't really make a whole lot of effort initially with her.
Mhm. Okay, and then what made you think there needed to be some kind of change?
Yeah, I think it was when, I kinda noticed how often she wanted it. Like I said, it would almost be like every car ride, even just a short distance, and it was just easier than to listen to her whine or complain, and she would, like, sometimes just wake up wanting to watch a show, and couldn't really go through the day without it. I also started listening to a podcast but called 1000 Hours Outside. And it's an American lady. Her name is Jenny Urich. She also homeschooled. So I can't remember if that's initially how I got into the podcast. And I don't even remember how I found her, but she really promotes spending time outside. She said when she was a young mom with young kids, that's kind of what saved her sanity in a way. She met with a friend and her kids would just play outside and she just saw how much they thrived. And then she, as a parent, was able to calm down a little bit more and just enjoy being with her kids when time at home inside the house became so stressful. And she started doing a lot of research about it and really found how important being outside was and how it could counter screen time. And she talks a lot about how the average kid spends about 3 hours a day on a screen, whether it be a computer or video games or phones or tablets or whatever it is. And she was trying to counter that with time outside. So she has a lot of guests and content about the benefits of um, being outside. And a lot of the content obviously is the damaging effects of screen time and um, things related to that. So I think a lot of that really started to help me think and realize this should not be the norm where I'm just going to the grocery store and my kid's in the cart. I hand my child the phone just because it's easier to shop that way. I don't think that's not how we used to do it. That's not how people have been doing it for hundreds of years. So of course it's easier, but it's not better. And yeah, one thing I also started to really realize was how much of like screens are really experience killers because if you think about it, if they're around, it's so much easier and more entertaining for children to just watch something that they enjoy or play a video game or even if it's like a learning game on a tablet, it's that much more fun on a tablet versus just on a piece of paper. So and they really like it's really a lot more engaging for the kids. So it's a lot they would rather do that than pick up a book to read or um, go outside to play or pick up Legos and start building that because that's more involvement, hands-on involvement, and more thinking and things like that. And so it's just that much easier for children. So the screens would take away the opportunities for children to be creative and do other things. So yeah, I guess really understanding a little bit more about the risks and damages that screens bring is what really kind of helped me think I need to do something different.
Yeah. Yeah, experience killer, like, it makes me think in my last, podcast, um, yeah, I was also talking about because I talked about this also with the family, like, with the other uncles and aunts. Yeah, so, like, we talked about, like, yeah, restaurants, how these days you go to a restaurant and all the kids are on devices,
Mhm.
um, and how that really takes away from the whole experience, like you said, it's an experience killer, and whereas, yeah, with my family, we're traveling around and we really make it uh, a point to go to a restaurant in every country, and we want it to be an experience. That would be so sad if we just sit there with
Yes.
devices. It would
Yes.
take so much away, and also I it just also makes me think just now, like, I hope that the kids aren't doing this at dinner time, or mealtime because that is actually such a sacred time for families.
Yes. Mhm.
There's so many studies done, I'm sure you've heard, like,
Mhm.
families that eat together and use that time together are like, the kids just thrive so much more in life through
Mhm.
that
Yes.
connection time. Um, so yeah, I really appreciate that you mentioned that it's an experience killer. Um, yeah, when kids are really focused just on their devices. and also a boredom killer. That's also one thing
Yes,
that I wanted to
yes,
add, right? Because the boredom, that's also so often what we all are running away from, but that's
yeah,
sometimes the chance to get into this play mode, right? Where you're just playing around, there's no pressure to succeed, and then you might pop an idea in your head or inspiration or yeah, anything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The boredom really does lead to creativity. Um, but you have to kind of sit with the boredom sometimes, and that's uncomfortable. And so children, I don't even think know really know how to be bored anymore these days, which is sad. So it's important to keep that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Children and
exactly.
adults, though. I mean, how easy is it for
Yeah.
us to also just be like, I don't know what to do. I'm sitting here waiting for whatever. I might as well look at my phone and do something. It's sad reality. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it just makes me want to mention, so my husband and I, we both, took we kind of did a new driver's license, like an extension of our old driver's license, and to do that, we had to do a first aid course again, and so, I mean, the last time I did my first aid course, and I don't even remember it, but, my husband, like, he was 17 when he first did his first aid course for his first license. And then now it's like, what, 10 years? No, sorry, 20 years later, more than 20
Yeah.
years. Um, and and so it was just crazy, he said, when he came into the room, because you do it with, like, a group of other people, and they're all
Yeah.
strangers, right? You're meeting a whole bunch of strangers. And everybody feels the sort of awkwardness in the air to be with strangers,
Yeah.
and everyone else was on their phones. I mean, most of these
Yes.
people, they were also kids, from our perspective, like 17-year-olds, people
Yeah.
thinking to
Younger
actually learn to
generation.
drive a car
Yeah.
now. Yeah, and so he
Yeah.
he said it was just so, like, I don't know, shocking to see this coming into a room. Um, but yeah, you can still, like, he said, okay, it made him also more aware, and so he didn't take his phone out, and,
Hmm.
he tried to connect to the person that he was sitting next to, right? So it's and he did, and he had a great conversation, so sometimes we just have to, yeah, get into that discomfort and, uh,
Yeah.
make the first move.
Right. Yeah. I do think a
Yeah.
lot of people hide behind it because they don't know. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and it's awkward. So it's just so much easier just to, um, yeah, pull out a phone and look busy or distract yourself. But good job for Gabriel doing that so that he could,
Yeah.
yeah. And you never know what can come of that. So,
Right. Yeah, so you noticed this, from one of your kids, and then so how did you make the change? And, like, was it abrupt, or did you kind of make little steps one by one?
yeah. I think I think it was definitely more gradual initially, and then I realized it was hard to be gradual because um, sometimes and this is the same I think even for adults. Sometimes it's just better all or nothing,
Mm,
and then once you can establish those limits, you can gradually maybe change it. But I think at one point because even with my older kids, we had, like I've mentioned, we did have tablets for them, and we would allow maybe 30 minutes a day. But sometimes it's really hard to, like, we didn't have a strict we didn't have it on a timer. Like, you can do that where it just turns off automatically, but we would just try to monitor it. But then it was just so much easier to be like, oh, one more game or one more whatever, and or whatever else. And so then at one point we were like, okay, during the week, no tablets. We'll allow 30 minutes on the weekend. Same for our youngest daughter. And and then we and then and then I realized even on the weekends, and then they would say, but it's a weekend and I want to use it. And then we would have like family come over, a guest, and they're on a tablet, and I was like, and then the guest is over and they're not interacting because they have the tablet out, and I'm like, I really don't like this either. So then we actually went to no individual screens, period, during the week, not even as a reward.
mhm.
Um, we do still have the tablets even now, They're the very old ones. We have not updated anything since, and we allow it on longer car rides or airplane rides, just as a option, um, because sometimes those are just hard for children to manage. And then it's kind of also exciting. It makes it a little bit more exciting because they never get on it anyways. But um, and we do allow movie and like television watching. They can watch, but it's almost always something they watch together, something that like there's an end to it. It's not just the endless like watching for hours on end. And yeah, so that was hard. And it definitely was like a detox, especially for my youngest. She, I think, was maybe 3 at the time. And I mean, but this was a daughter that was the hardest to get rid of the pacifier, the hardest to, wean off of a bottle and wean off of nicotine and all that stuff. Like like I said, she had this addicted personality. So it was hard. She would, sometimes, like, I remember crying, being very upset. It was like she would just ask about it all the time. And so I would just have to find other things to take up the time instead, like bring crafts, bring activities,
Mm.
engage with her more. It definitely takes a lot more work on the parents' end. Screens are so much easier, like babysitters, And even right now, my kids are watching a movie downstairs. So
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong. Like I said, I still use it because we're homeschooling and I wanted to do this call and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I said, why don't you put on a movie, watch it together? And it's babysitting them, they're all occupied. And um, but you don't want it to like take over their lives either. So us as parents, we don't want to use it as a clutch too much because yeah, then it kind of will interfere with our relationship with them because they need connection with us so much. And so, yeah, bringing games along. So when we go to a sporting event and I have to play a game, even though I'd rather just talk to a neighbor friend or the person sitting next to me or watch the game, I have to interact with my other child. It's a lot harder. Going to a restaurant, have to walk around with my child instead of like just putting or talk or play a game or interact or, it's a lot harder and I can't just eat my meal in peace. I mean, these things are a little bit more challenging, but I think it's just that much more beneficial for the child. So even if it makes it more difficult for us, it's worth it. And in my mind, also, the kids are only this young for so long. So yeah, we we just had to stay firm with it and just kind of let them know. Also, I would try to communicate a lot with them, the older ones, and they kind of understood, why we're making these choices. Now that they're even older, I actually listen to podcasts with them, and um, and that has helped them understand, or like read content with them and help them understand the benefits of being on your screens less and not having a smartphone. My older kids still just have watches to call with, so and all of their friends have smartphones, so that's challenging for them. But because we communicate and talk about it, they understand it. And it's, of course, ideally, if I offered it to them, they would take it. But, they also understand why I don't offer it to them and they're not upset about it. So,
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Just for perspective, how old were the older 2 when you kind of cut down on screen time?
yeah, that's a good question. So, Isabel was around 3. So I would say like 6 and 8. They were both under
Mhm.
10. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, and so you also have like, when your daughter was 3, I'm not sure if your youngest was born yet, maybe he was born soon-ish after?
Yeah,
Um,
no, so
yeah.
my 4th was born after that. She was 3.5 when he was born. So it was roughly around that time, but he was young. But I made a very conscious decision then with him, seeing how it affected Isabel, that I would not w even offer him my phone at any point with my husband too. We we don't have any games or anything like exciting. We do have YouTube, but we just don't even well, yeah, we don't we'll play songs or something from it sometimes, but we just don't allow him to use it. And then yeah, so it was a very conscious decision raising him, and he is a very, very active, typical boy. And so it it has been very, and we like to travel, we like to we will go out to eat, we do all this stuff. And so it is constant engagement with him. And yeah, but that's just the I just decided this is the route we're gonna go. Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know, are there any moments where you think, um, like, "Oh, man, it would just be so much easier
Yeah.
with the screen." I mean, of course, you
Yes.
said it is, and I agree. I mean, I also had that time. But, I mean, I can say, like you said, the kids are like this you don't get this time back. It's
Yeah.
really, melting through our hands, and, I think it's like, it is a lot more it's asking a lot more from us as parents, but it in the end, you're just so much more you have so much more of a connection with your kids,
Yeah.
um, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I I would like to think so. Um, I definitely see also with my kids, they're just able to sit a little bit longer than some. I mean, my he's 5 now. He's different, but he's still young, and I just have to remind myself. But yes, because even more so than my older son, he just has so much energy. So, yeah, we'll go to a piano recital. My daughters play piano, or my son even plays guitar, and you have to be quiet, or like, church or whatever. It is hard, and so sometimes I just have to walk out with him and listen to, the daughters play or an important part or whatever, and then just remove ourselves. Um, and I will and one thing that I do sometimes, and not all the time, but in those very difficult times where I need him to sit still and the activities I brought aren't working anymore, is I'll show him pictures on my phone, from our family, and he really likes that, and that will engage him for a little bit. And I feel like that is just more, it's because it's not it's for him to recall things and look at, memories and things like that. So I do fall back on that every now and then, but it's also very different from like a mindless like video that comes up and then going to the next one and going to the next one. So I allow myself that sometimes. But um yeah, it is just a lot. But I just have to think about their tiny little brains working, because as we all know, you know, technology is developing more and more, but it hasn't always been around. And there has to be something that is damaging with the constant, like, you know, dopamine hits from videos and stuff, that with the it's no engagement whatsoever, and it's not like actually fulfilling you. It's just the watching and the watching and the watching. And even with video games where there is interaction, I can't imagine that um if it's hours on end, it can be helping, their development in their brains. And I know that there's been research on it, and I can't um recall anything specifically, but yeah, I feel like it's just so much better to teach them how to interact or distract themselves or do something or just sit bored for a while, without having to turn to a screen for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So, you mentioned some of your new streaming, like, rules, or yeah, how you let it into your life, like, just for long car rides, or flights. And, yeah, did you say they can have screen time on the weekends, but only together? Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, we will allow like movie watching or show watching altogether. We'll even allow that during the week sometimes, especially if it's an educational show or something. And I just try not to allow any individual, like they're glued to their own device type. Um, watching or even my son, my older son does have like a Nintendo Switch, and we were a little bit hesitant to give him initially, but he is actually very good about not playing it endlessly. So I haven't even needed to really deal with that too much, which I'm grateful for. He actually only really plays with other friends when they come over. It's just more fun, and occasionally with his dad, but it's never too long. And I just, when I say like on a weekend, if he's playing it, mm, we're done. He's like, okay, that's it. So yeah, I just really don't like the individual one-on-one glued to something, and so I try not to allow that, honestly, unless, like I said, it's a car ride or a plane ride or something like that. But yeah, they both, all three of my older kids do play instruments, and they love, like, they will play for hours on end on their own, which
Wow.
what it's a benefit if they don't have anything else to do. They're like, I'm just gonna play a piano if I can't watch something, if I can't play a video game, if I can't whatever, then there's always something else to do, and they will fall back on their instruments a lot. And they'll also use um like YouTube to help teach them songs and stuff, and I do allow that as well. I just always try to monitor like what they're doing and when they're doing it, so that they yeah, so that I'm on top of what they're doing. But we just really try to fill our day with other things. And one thing I heard once is you have to make the real world more exciting than the digital world, which is hard because the digital world
Mm.
is just exciting, and it's only going to get more exciting with AI, with the whatever the interactive, like, I don't even know everything that you can do, but it's the digital world is very exciting. And if if it is, if they can't enjoy the real world anymore, then I feel they're just losing out on so much. And so I really try to fill time. We do try to go outside a lot, go to parks, go as a family, meet up with friends. Going with friends always helps because then there's you know more interaction and things like that, more connection. We read a lot as a family. I've always read to my kids from a young age, and I think that's also ingrained a really strong, like, read out loud with them, read picture books, we read novels together, stories. We do audiobooks, and I think that has helped. So now they like to read a lot on their own. So if there's nothing to do, sometimes they'll fall back on that, or I'll suggest it or whatnot. Playing board games. We have a lot of board games, and it's hard with our youngest. Sometimes I have to wait till he's at a friend's house or he's in bed or whatever, especially to do the more in-depth ones. But now that our older ones are getting older, it's so much more fun to play with them, and they enjoy the games too, and especially like strategic board games and stuff are so much fun. But yeah, really, yeah, fostering their hobbies, finding out what they enjoy. Sports, if there's sports, we'll try to um, help them figure out what they enjoy, and then we'll try different ones while they're younger, and then they if they enjoy one of them, then we'll stick with that. And so both my older two are both in competitive sports, which can be a lot. However, it works out since we homeschool. Um, the scheduling works out for the most part, but yeah, that can all take the place of screens. And so I think those are all really important things to, you can't just take the screen away and then just, I mean, you could just try to let them figure it out, but it's hard for a young child to know what to do sometimes. So if you encourage them with activities, things, um like independent games and stuff too that they can do on their own, um investing in those I think are really important. So yeah, those are things that kind of we did, um yeah, along with taking the screens away.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a really important point. Yeah, just to mention to all the listeners, like, we can't just take the screens away, and expect that our kids are gonna be okay with the new rules. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
gonna be some withdrawal period, they're gonna struggle,
Yeah.
and we need to offer a lot more as parents, Like, I also notice with my own son, whenever he asks for a screen, I notice, he's bored or he needs connection. It's kind of one of the
Mm,
2. And then we need to offer, like, not necessarily to cure the boredom, but yeah, to just offer the connection. Yeah, and then I try to also encourage my kids, "Yeah, come on, you can think of something to do." But
yeah.
yeah, and also I love that they are playing instruments for hours on end, like, that sounds so amazing. But yeah, to just, I guess, also encourage those activities, like you said, and, like, sports and doing things as a family. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you know the game Carcassonne?
It sounds familiar. I don't know. Do you guys play that a lot
Okay.
at home?
Yeah, I totally recommend it. It's cool. Yeah, it's kind of like
Carcassonne. Okay.
a strategic game. You have like pieces and they fit like a puzzle, but it's like, okay, I have a bit of city or a bit of street, so I have to fit it to another city. Okay, am I gonna build city
Wait,
now
is that
or
like, is it Catan or is it?
no, it's actually something else, although that's
Oh,
also a really
okay.
good game. Siedler
Yeah, we have
Catan.
that one. Carcassonne. Okay, I will look for
Mhm.
it. That's like, I'm always on the hunt for new games too. I mean, almost every Christmas and birthdays we'll gift board games because, it's just something that we can do together. And so, yeah, I will definitely look into that. Because we like the
Yeah.
strategic ones too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
really cool. No problem. Yeah, our kids really like that. And so, I mean, I wanted to ask you, like, are you happy with the culture that you have now? Like, yeah, or is there something you wish could improve? But I mean, it sounds really amazing. I don't know. What would you say?
Well, I do think pretty happy with it overall. Our youngest one, I still feel I sometimes, especially when I'm trying to homeschool my other kids, my older kids, I want to um be able to uh I want to be able to just teach um teach my older kids and have him along in an ideal world. He's just like playing in a game over here and I'm like working with my old kids and I do the game with him or I do a craft or I teach him his letters and then I'm teaching my older kids. But he can be, like I said, he's just so much, he just needs a lot of like attention at times. So um yeah, I realize that it is challenging with him sometimes. So I have to, like, I'll just put on a short movie for him or a show for him so that he can do that. Like, and I always do it just on a TV. Like I said, I don't like just having him on a screen, like somewhere. So I will fall back on that more than I'd like, just because. But it is, like I said, it is challenging with homeschooling um, and to be able. And my older kids do, for the most part, they're pretty independent. It's mostly my third one, Isabel, who it needs a lot more individual attention still right now. And my older two can do a lot on their own, but it's sometimes hard to juggle it all. So yeah, but I also am just very realistic about things and trying not to be too hard on myself. And I know he's still kind of he's just young, so he's getting to the point where he can do a lot of stuff on his own, and so that does help. And yeah, but for the most part, I um I think I am happy with it. Yeah.
So, yeah, one thing I'm really curious about is how do you deal with screens when you are not in your own home, when you're visiting someone, and of course they have a different culture around screens. Probably, I don't know if you try to make friends with people with similar habits, or are you sometimes confronted, yeah, with a I mean, maybe you love the family, but yeah, they just have different practices than yours, than your family.
Um yeah, that is definitely challenging. Um like I said with my son, for instance, boys love video games, and this is just something that I'm understanding more and more. So um he does go to friends' houses and play video games, and his friends will come over here and play video games. And I just try not to let it be like the main activity for the day. Like they'll just do it for 30 minutes or an hour or something. And then the rest of the time, and I even say like you guys can play for a little bit, but then and then even so then if they're going elsewhere, I'll say like off and fortunately parents at least the friends that we know and stuff, they'll be like, "Oh, are video games okay? Or is it all right if they play?" And so I'm grateful that they'll ask. And then I'll say, "Yeah, let's, just maybe not the whole time," and they'll respect that and too. So, and I've also um, asked in the past, like, especially if, like, even with the older kids now, and, I'll just say, I don't like, we don't have, my older kids don't have their own phone. So I don't like it when um, I don't want them to be around the kids and just like in the room watching something on the phone or doing something on their phone. So I'll just explain that to the parents, and just say, we're just kind of strict with, screen time, and I just try to communicate it, but I'm also very realistic about it. Like I said, it is the world we're in, and I'll just talk to my kids and try to explain, like, this is the culture we have. But yeah, even though other people might not agree with it, like this is just something we need to do. So if you guys can try to, make sure if you guys are watching a movie, then supplement it with something else afterwards. Or if you guys are playing video games, like maybe suggest go play outside or whatever, and not spend too much time. But yeah, I do try. I know some parents, like when kids come over to their house, they'll like have a basket and like collect the smartphones and say, okay, this is our rule in our house. I haven't gone to that extreme yet. It hasn't really been necessary yet either. However, I'm not against that because I think that is a great standard to set. Like, this is our rules, this is what we do. And but yeah, I also want to really teach my kids the importance of balance, and having our own discipline with it. You know what I mean? So if it's just a lot somewhere else, if other families are doing it, then just to know to remove yourself, or to be able to discipline yourself with it. And I'm just hoping that they can pick up on that or develop that on their own. But that, yeah, it's obviously harder because you can only control so much, and other families have their own rules, and I want to respect that. So um yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really great and, courageous that you explained that to the families beforehand, but it's really the best practice, I think, but before you kind of get into a sticky situation or, yeah, are confronted
Right.
later with something else.
Hmm.
So I know you have to go soon. I just wanted to ask you if you have any words of encouragement for parents that might be thinking, okay, I'm not so happy with how it is right now with screen time or, you know, phones or whatever kind of screen use they have in their family. And they want to cut down in some way or another. Yeah, what would be some words of encouragement from your experience?
Yeah, I would honestly say, like, stick to your gut feeling. If this is something you feel, even if it's challenging, you know, if it's something that your child is really against, and it's going to be difficult, I think you as the parent have your child's best interests at heart. So just going to have to stick with it. You obviously have to set an example yourself, as a parent. So you can't expect anything out of them if you're not doing it yourself. So that's also hard. We really do try to limit it ourselves so that our kids can see that. Um, and the reality is, the big tech and all the technology that's being created, it is targeted towards our kids, and they do not have our kids' best interests at heart. They're making things as addicting as possible, so that the YouTube videos can be watched and can be liked, and the video games can be played for hours on end and purchased more, and things can be downloaded as many times as possible, that you can have every streaming service out there. Like, that's how they make their money, and they don't have our children interests at heart, and you as a parent do. So we're fighting against a lot out there as parents, against these big tech companies that are creating all of this content. And so we just as parents have to stand our ground, and fight against that. Um, and yeah, you did mention this, but it is also really good to band together with families that have similar interests. If you can find those, and that helps, finding other parents who are delaying and giving your kids a smartphone, or other parents who, are limiting how much time they allow their kids to be on screens or on their phone or whatever it may be. That helps a lot because then if your kids have friends that are in similar situations or have similar rules, then it's easier for them to know I'm not alone in doing this. Um, yeah, and making sure you just have other things that you can help them do. I forgot to mention earlier, but my girls really like to bake. That's something else. Like if you're it's always a mess and stressful initially when you get started with them with baking and or with anything, a craft or anything, but getting stuff out and doing it with them or helping them do it and then just letting them do it on their own, making the messes, making mistakes, burning things, you know, you clean it all up later. So allowing things like that to happen, to fill time is important too. You kind of have to let go as if especially if you're kind of like as a parent, um, OCD or whatever it might be, you might have to let go some tendencies on your end to let your kids, make those messes. Um, yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention that my daughter was my oldest, who's almost 14. She was spending time with some friends the other day, and they they had said to her at one point, "Oh, let's all put our phones away because like let's let this time be without phones because Tiffany doesn't have one." And I thought that was so like and she told me about that later and I thought that was so observant of them but also, respectful of them, caring of them and and like it's sometimes hard being the odd one out, being the different one, but then you can by setting that standard, you can also um help others be a little bit more aware of that and um res- think outside of themselves and they can understand, oh, this is something worth respecting, you know what I mean? So that was really encouraging for me. Finding good friends is really important for your kids so that they don't feel so alone with it all, but friends that like also support them and you. And yeah, standing your ground I think is just the number one thing because it is going to be hard, but it's going against the grain of society right now. But if you can just believe in it and understand it, um, and I think communicating with your kids, not just setting the rules, but explaining why, like I said, listening to podcasts with them or reading about it yourselves. There's so many books. The Anxious Generation is a book that came out recently, and that one just really talks about the damaging effects of smartphones with kids in their teens. And you can just pull parts out of that and read it with your kids and help them see like this is not me just trying to be mean or me just trying to set rules. This is me trying to really raise you the best way I can. What do you think about it? And have conversations with them. I think that'll help you as a parent move forward.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's some really great advice. Um, yeah, to just uh, read up on things, but yeah, also encourage great friendships for for our kids. Yeah, I tell my kids sometimes, like, yeah, we got to be leaders. They kind of roll their eyes, but I'm like trying to
Yeah.
motivate them, like you know,
Yeah.
we have to be leaders because it's not the norm, like what we're trying to teach them, and um, yeah, but I think that's also so important what you said, like, let your kids know, like, what the reason is behind all of this. Not that you're not trying to be mean, you're really trying to help them, and have their best interests at heart. Um, yeah, so thank you so much, Yusan, also for being
Sure.
such a super mom. Yeah, yeah, I really appreciate it. And yeah. Can't wait to meet you in person sometime.
Yes, yes, it would be so great to see you again. Thank you, Amelia, for taking the time, and it was great to reflect a little bit more on, I guess, my journey through this all. So, thanks for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. All the best. See
Okay,
you
take
next
care.
time.
Goodbye. Good luck on your travels.
Yeah, thanks.